Hello, my little porals. It's me, Rain. How are you feeling? Are you feeling comfy? Are you feeling cozy? Good. Because tonight we're stepping into the life of a medieval peasant. Not the fairy tale villagers who sing songs while sweeping cottages, but the real people. The people who woke up in mud, lived with fleas, and drank beer for breakfast because water could kill them. There's no glory, and it's not pretty. It's survival on hard bread, hard work, and prayers that never seem to get answered. But before we step into the story, history can be harsh, and sometimes we lose perspective on the little things in life. The soft pillow beneath your head, clean water by your bed, or simply the chance to rest. Sometimes a simple moment of gratitude is enough to calm the mind. Now, let's drift in today's story together. Congratulations. You're born into medieval Europe, but don't expect balloons or cake. The midwife barely glances at you before muttering that you'll probably be dead before the snow melts. She's seen enough babies to know the odds aren't good. Your first bath isn't warm or soothing. It's a bucket of cold water dumped over your squirming body, courtesy of the priest, who declares you a Christian before handing you back like a sack of wet laundry. That's your official welcome to the medieval world. Your crib is a wooden box stuffed with straw, and not the clean kind. It smells like goats, because it was used by goats. Your mother is already exhausted. No maternity leave, no comfy rocking chair, no scented candle with newborn bliss written on the label. Just a smoky hut, a pile of chores, and a screaming baby that may or may not survive the week. If you were born today, someone might post your arrival on Instagram with a cute filter. Here, the only filter is the smoke clogging your tiny lungs. Clothing? Forget baby onesies. You're wrapped in whatever rag your family didn't need for plugging holes in the roof. There are no diapers either. When nature calls, you let it rip right where you are, and someone will scrape it off later. Or not. You're not precious cargo. You're a biological gamble with very poor odds. The village doesn't throw you a party. Nobody's asking about your astrological sign or comparing your birth weight. Your name might not even be written down. If you're lucky, someone remembers it. If not, you're just called, "Hey boy," until you're old enough to swing a hoe in the fields. Birthdays, not a thing. No cake, no presents. The best you can hope for is that nobody forgets to feed you when they're out doing scraps of pottage. Disease is already eyeing you like Putin eyes the West. The odds of catching something fatal in the first year are sky high. A bad cough could be your grand finale. Milk isn't guaranteed either. If your mother dies during childbirth, which happens often, you're shoved to another woman to nurse. And if no one's available, well, good luck with goat's milk. Meanwhile, your father is probably disappointed you're not a strong boy who can work immediately. Or if you are, then congratulations. He's already daydreaming about how many taxes you'll pay one day. The priest tells your parents to thank God for your life, but God apparently is busy sending plagues and famines instead of baby showers. By the time you're a few months old, you're already covered in dirt, scratches, and probably fleas. Nobody sanitizes bottles because bottles don't exist. Nobody sterilizes pacifiers either because those also don't exist. Your pacifier is your fist. Germs are everywhere, but people don't know what germs are yet. They just assume bad smells cause illness, which, to be fair, isn't entirely wrong when you live in a hut that smells like rotting onions and pig breath. If you survive to age 5, you're considered a miracle. Half the kids around you won't make it that far. They'll die from fevers, infections, or just sheer bad luck. Childhood here isn't whimsical. There are no toys, no cartoons, no bedtime stories. Your whole existence is about surviving long enough to work. Yep. And right now, you're not even capable of holding your head up. But don't worry, no one's expecting you to invent Google or run for president. You're just another muddy, crying bundle tossed into a cycle of hunger and labor. And your life expectancy, let's just say you won't be collecting Social Security. You might make it to 40 if the stars align. Until then, the best anyone can hope for is that you don't die before the winter. didn't die in infancy. That already makes you special, special, special. Half your friends are buried under a lopsided wooden cross before they even learn to walk. But you're still here, which means it's time to start working. Childhood as you imagine it, playgrounds, juice boxes, Sunday cartoons, does not exist. Your toys are sticks. Mud, and maybe a chicken if you can catch one before it pecks your eyes out. By age 5, you've drafted into the family workforce. You're not helping in a cute Instagram-worthy way, no. Actual labor. Your little hands pull weeds from frozen ground, scarecrows away from the barley, haul water from a stream that doubles as the town's sewage system. You're not in kindergarten learning the alphabet. You're out in the fields, learning how to keep your family from starving. If you slack off, someone yells, or worse, beats you with the same stick you were just playing with. Meals don't exactly fuel growth. Breakfast is thin pottage that tastes like sadness, and bread hard enough to file your teeth down to nubs. You don't grow tall. You grow wiry. Nobody counts calories. Nobody cares about carbs. Starvation is the real diet plan, and it's not optional. If crops fail, you shrink. If plague hits, you're done. Childhood obesity, that's a future problem, and your fantasy. Education is a rumor. Unless you're the son of a noble or a priest takes pity on you, you won't see a book. Reading is witchcraft for rich people. Numbers only matter when it comes to taxes, and you'll learn the hard way that when the collector shows up, demanding grain you don't have, forget to follow your dreams. Your only dream is not being sold off by your father if debt piles up. Yes, that was an option. Extra kids could be bartered away like livestock. Still. Sometimes you get moments of fun. Maybe a festival rolls around with bad music and watered down ale. Maybe you kick a pig bladder around like a ball until it bursts and smells worse than your hut. But there's always work waiting, wood to gather, fields to plow, animals to tend. Childhood is a speed run tutorial for adulthood, and the tutorial is just as miserable as the main game. When nature calls in the Middle Ages, there's no porcelain throne. Forget toilet paper, air freshener, or the luxury of shutting a door for privacy. Your options are a wooden bucket in the corner, a shallow ditch outside, or if you're really living large, leaning over the castle moat and praying you don't slip in. The smell is constant. Buckets fill up fast, and emptying them means dumping everything into the street. That's why every road is basically a living obstacle course of human leftovers, pig droppings, and rotting vegetables. You don't get to dodge with sneakers. You're barefoot or in shoes made of wood. It's less taking a stroll and more trying not to die from slipping into someone else's lunch. And there's no wiping as you know it. Toilet paper has not been invented. People use moss or scraps of fabric or just their own hand, which gets a quick rinse in the same stream everyone drinks from. And you think hand sanitizer could save the day? Too bad. It won't exist for another 700 years. The only thing spreading faster than waste is disease. And congratulations, you're living in a giant petri dish. Even nobles can't escape this. Castles have holes in the wall where they can squat and hope for the best. Everything drops straight down into the moat, which sounds smart until you realize the moat is basically a swirling stew of filth circling your home. Imagine someone promising a sustainable waste solution, then digging a hole in the floor and saying, "Problem solved." Problem solved. That's medieval engineering for you. Bathrooms aren't just disgusting, they're dangerous. Fall into an open sewer and that's your obituary. Cuts get infected. Rats thrive in the muck. Fleas thrive on the rats. And plagues thrive on the fleas. One bad trip outside the bucket and suddenly half the village is coughing up blood. Someone once said, cleanliness is next to godliness. In your medieval world, cleanliness is next to impossible. God can watch, but he's not handing out soap. Bathing is not a daily ritual. It's a yearly event, if that. Forget hot showers, lavender body wash, or even deodorant. The medieval method of cleaning is basically just adding more dirt on top of the already existing dirt and hoping it creates a protective crust. You don't smell bad because you forgot to shower. You smell bad because showering isn't even part of the cultural vocabulary. Everyone stinks. You, your family, the priest, even the Lord in his fancy manner. It's the village-wide cologne of manure, sweat, and wood smoke, and whatever died last week in the ditch. When everyone reeks, it kind of cancels out until the wind shifts, and then you realize just how horrifying the collective bouquet actually is. People don't say, "You smell terrible." They say nothing, because so do they. Soap exists, but it's rough, greasy, and expensive. It's made from animal fat and ashes, so basically you're scrubbing yourself with burnt bacon. The rich might bathe more often, but peasants, you wash by splashing icy stream water on your face once in a while and pretending that counts. Never mind that upstream, your neighbor just dumped a bucket of waste into the same water. Bathhouses used to exist in the towns, but the church started calling them dens of sin, because shockingly, when naked people get together, things happen. So they get shut down, leaving you with your annual splash in a barrel. Imagine the authorities convincing people that not bathing is actually a wellness trend, and that everyone just nods along because they don't know any better. That's your reality. Your hair, a grease slick. Your teeth, a haunted ruin. Your skin, covered in rashes, boils and bites from fleas that live in your straw bed. Showers, scented deodorant, even a stick of gum would make you the most attractive person in 100 miles. But here, the fresh smell is the smoke and manure baked into your clothes. When people say the good old days, remember what they smelled like. Breakfast is pottage, a sludge of peas, oats, and mystery bits boiled until it looks like swamp water. Add a hunk of bread harder than concrete, and you've got the full morning menu. Butter, that's for rich people. Honey, forget it. You dream of flavor the way Gen Z dreams of Wi-Fi. Since the water will probably kill you, you wash it all down with weak beer. Yes, beer for breakfast. Congratulations. You're 5 and already a functioning alcoholic. Water is a gamble every time. That sparkling stream outside the village. Someone upstream just dumped a chamber pot into it. Or a dead sheep. Or both. Germ theory won't exist for centuries. So people think disease floats in bad air, not in the chunky stuff you just swallowed. Beer is safer because boiling kills germs, though nobody knows that. They just know beer doesn't kill you as fast. Bathing, on the other hand, is feared. People believe opening pores invites sickness, so scrubbing up is basically considered suicide. Imagine telling a medieval villager you shower daily. They'd assume you had a death wish. Dinner isn't better. Bread again, often sprouting mold. Cheese that tastes like old socks. And turnips. Always turnips. Meat shows up only on holidays, unless you poach a rabbit from the Lord's forest. But if you do, congratulations, you've just committed a crime worthy of hanging. That's right, stealing food is more serious than stealing a life. The law basically says, starve quietly or die loudly. Your choice. Food laws are strict. Grain must be milled at the Lord's mill for a fee. Ale must be brewed by the approved brewer, also for a fee. Everything is taxed, skimmed, and watered down. In the future, there will be a thing called the carnivore diet. In your world, a steak is more of a fantasy. Meat is so rare that it's practically mythical. Your diet is carbs, and more carbs with a side of famine. In the morning, the rooster doesn't wake you up. The Lord's land does. Sunlight means it's time to drag yourself out of the straw pile and start another unpaid workout plan. There's no weekends, no sick pay, no calling HR. The fields don't care if you got the plague, plow, or starve. Today, people tweet about hardcore 80-hour work weeks like it's a badge of honor. That's cute. Try 100 hours with no pay, no stock options, and a side of dysentery. Your day starts with a wooden plow so heavy it could double as a medieval gym machine, pulled by an ox that hates you. You stumble behind, guiding it through sticky mud, praying the blade doesn't snap. Women don't get a pass. They're out here too, planting, harvesting, hauling water, cooking, cleaning, and still expected to pop out babies like a factory line. Kids don't get a childhood. They're free labor with tiny hands, perfect for weeding, bird scarring, and carrying buckets bigger than their heads. The work is endless and the payoff is insulting. You grow crops, but most of them go to the Lord as rent. What's left gets hit by taxes, skimmed by the miller, and blessed by the priest's tithe basket. You keep the little crumbs, literally. Think Google launching a billion-dollar product and giving you a coupon for free Gmail storage as a reward. That's feudalism. The labor itself wrecks you. Your back bends before you're 30. Your hands are calloused stumps. Every muscle screams by sundown, and the only relief is collapsing in the dirt until tomorrow, when you do it all again. You don't work out, you work out in the fields until you can't. Even winter isn't a break. It just means different misery. Repairing tools, chopping firewood, spinning wool. There's no Netflix binge, no cozy hibernation, just frozen fingers, empty bellies, and smoke-filled huts. And through it all, the Lord doesn't even know your name. To him, you're just peasant number 12. To you, survival is the only job description. You thought your back-breaking labor meant food on the table. Wrong. The second your harvest is in, everyone with power shows up to take their slice. First, the Lord. He doesn't lift a finger, but somehow half your grain is his by right. Then the priest arrives with God's invoice. Pay your tithe or burn in hell. After that, the king's men roll through, demanding taxes for wars you'll never see, fought by people you'll never meet. Finally, the miller takes his cut when you grind what little is left. By the time you're done, you're left with scraps. It's a pyramid scheme, except instead of selling vitamins, you're selling survival. Everyone above you eats well, while you wonder if you can chew on a turnip skin for another day. And you don't think you can hide grain. Officials are nosy, and if they suspect you're holding back, you're fined, whipped, or tossed in a pit. Imagine the IRS, but instead of letters in the mail, it's a guy with a stick searching your hut. The church makes sure you're guilt-tripped enough into coughing up more. Priests preach that giving to God ensures heaven, which sounds nice until you realize giving to God means giving to them. You hand over chickens, eggs, whatever scraps you have, while the priest lectures you from behind his nice, full belly. Meanwhile, your family counts every crumb like it's Bitcoin. Taxes don't stop in bad years. Low harvest, famine. Doesn't matter. you still owe. You could be starving, coughing blood, feeding your children bark soup, but the collectors won't skip you. They'll just say, "It's God's will." And what can you do? Nothing. It's not like peasants are storming Parliament. If you're lucky, you'll storm the outhouse without slipping. By the end, your family eats stale bread, and you're grateful not to be whipped. That's the medieval version of a tax refund. Surviving the season. Getting sick in the medieval ages isn't always a trip to the doctor. It's a slow audition for the grave. Medicine isn't science. It's guesswork with extra bleeding. The theory is that bad fluids cause illness, so the cure is to slice you open and let the sickness drip out. Congratulations. Your treatment for fever is losing half your blood and passing out in the mud. Leeches are the medieval cure-all. Headache, leeches. Stomach pain, leeches. Broken leg, more leeches. You're basically a snack bar for slimy worms, while the doctor pockets your coin. And by doctor, I mean barber surgeon. The same guy who trims your beard is also the one sawing your arm off. Imagine Dr. Phil announces he will now perform open heart surgery, and people just going along. That's the medical field. You're trusting with your life. Surgery is done without anesthesia, using rusty knives that haven't seen soap since the Crusades. You're tied down while someone hacks at you, and if you survive, infection finishes the job later. No one sterilizes tools, no one washes hands. Germs don't exist yet, just bad air. If you're lucky, they sprinkle some herbs on the wound and say a prayer. The church insists that prayer is the best cure anyway. Priests tell you to confess your sins, light candles, and beg saints for mercy. Here, the best doctor is God, and he doesn't answer house calls. So, you keep working, coughing and bleeding, hoping illness passes. And if it doesn't, well, at least the priest will show up to remind you that hell is still worse. Entertainment in your world is a joke. Forget Netflix, football, or TikTok, TikTok, TikTok. Your options are listen to a wandering minstrel sing about kings you'll never meet, or gather in the square to watch someone get punished for stealing a turnip. That's it. Those are your Friday night plans. Festivals exist, but they're less fun and more survival breaks. A little ale, some stale bread, maybe dancing in the mud till your shoes rot off. Here, entertainment is a guy balancing on one leg before collapsing drunk. If you're lucky, a traveling juggler shows up and drops rocks while the crowd cheers like it's some Super Bowl halftime show. Violence, of course, is a crowd favorite. Executions are public parties. Someone gets hanged, whipped, or put in the stocks, and everyone gathers with their kids to laugh. It's family-friendly trauma bonding. Forget Disney World. The village square is your amusement park, minus the rides, plus the screaming. When night falls, there's nothing but darkness and silence. No lights, no music, no internet rabbit holes, just you, your fleas, and the sound of your neighbor coughing up blood. Fun. And then you don't get to retire. There's no pension, no rocking chair, no Florida condo. You work until your body collapses, and then you die. Poor, hungry, probably covered in mud. Half your children didn't make it past 5, and the ones who did inherit your debts along with your fleas. Death is the only guaranteed release. And even that comes with a bill for your priest and your funeral. Your grave isn't carved marble. It's a shallow hole with a crooked wooden cross, if anyone bothers. The priest might forget your name while shoveling dirt on top of you, but don't worry. God knows. Or so they say. Your family mourns briefly, then heads back to the fields, because life doesn't stop for grief. The cycle continues. Babies are born. Children are starved. Adults work to death. Rinse, repeat. Though not literally, because rinsing is rare. If you're lucky, you die before plague, famine, or war sweeps through. If not, you go out in a coughing fit, or in a field accident involving oxen and poor decision-making. Make it to 40 and you're practically ancient, a wrinkled relic, missing half your teeth, limping to church to beg for mercy. Trump brags about being the healthiest person ever. You'd brag about surviving another winter without frostbite. And that's your story. Born in mud, lived in toil, died in obscurity. No statues, no songs, no legacy. Just another anonymous link in a chain of suffering that built the world we now romanticize as the good old days. So, the next time you sip clean water, scroll through Google or complain about your coffee order being wrong. Well, remember. At least you're not in 1325, trying not to die from bread mold and bad plumbing. Sweet